Hello YouTube. Today, right now in this video, we're going to talk about price to rent ratios. Facebook, we're going to be talking about price to rent ratios in California versus Arizona and a few other cities. And then I'm going to tell you what I think you might want to do about it. At least something that I've been contemplating. My name is John McConnin. I'm a real estate broker and an attorney. And normally I focus on ways to buyers and sellers can take advantage of the inefficiencies in the market. And this isn't necessarily about inefficiencies in the market. I would think home pricing is pretty efficient in the short run. In the long run, yeah, prices may have been a little low over the last 5 to 10 years because banks were letting them appreciate slowly. But I think everybody feels to some degree that prices are getting back to full value in California, maybe more. And certainly if you're looking to purchase rental properties, there's a lot of downside risk. It seems like, and I'm not going to say that. We know prices have just been going up and up, but it seems like there's a lot of downside risk. And I think we have a number. I'm going to pull it up. This is all over the net now when you look for it. It's called price to rent ratios. And I just want to go over why we get the sense, why it's been so hard. My friend who is a real estate investor, I went to law school with him. I've been on and off looking for rental properties my whole life because I want to live that dream. And I've never been able to pull the trigger. When I do the numbers in San Diego, I've never been able to pull the trigger. And before the housing crisis, my friend Link told me that in his experience, there was only about a 1 year period prior to, like we graduated in 91, prior to that time in his previous 20 years where rental properties carried themselves in San Diego. And he was fortunate enough to buy a couple. But he was doing most of his investing in other states. And he did really well. He's generally retired right now. Now, while I've been around in San Diego, I think that during that short sale crisis, I came back after losing some money in Florida, and then I watched the properties spin down. I think at the bottom of that market, there were times that you could buy properties that cover themselves, and some people pulled the trigger and did it and caught themselves awesome investments. But except for that period of time, which let's call that another year, so maybe 2 years in the last 30, have you been able to buy rental properties in normal situations in San Diego that cover themselves, in my experience? And I think we all know that it seems pretty far apart now. And here's the price to rental ratios. This is to calculate the price to rent ratio, we use the following equations. Median home value divided by median annual rent equals price to rent ratio. Now, rental data has become more and more ubiquitous on the net. Well, it's not ubiquitous, but it is on the net, and you're starting to get a good feel. There's different online websites that have it. I understand. Well, we'll go over that in other videos. Okay, so let's just get to the point here now. Okay, so at the bottom of the list, we see price to rent ratios even below 10. At the top of the list, we've got price to rent ratios of 50 in San Francisco, California. So this would be a relative to the cost of the house, believe it or not. They're saying rents are a really good deal for the renters, bad deal. If you're buying a property and trying to rent it now, you're to get $1,000 in rental, you're gonna have to pay $601,000. So basically, let's say, well, whatever, you can figure that out, right? You know, if you've got $1 million, well, I don't even think that's realistic. Let's say you had an $1,800 property, $1.8 million property, you might be looking at like a $3,000 a month rent. That doesn't. I have friends who live up there. I don't think that's necessarily accurate. I think the rents are higher than that. But, you know, we're going to be using these numbers as rules of thumb, and then it's your job to find where you can beat them, right? So Oakland's high, Honolulu, Los Angeles, New York, Long Beach, Anaheim, San Diego. You know, this is why we're saying, you know, how are you going to find properties that pay for themselves? It takes to get $1,000 a month rent, you're looking at $365,000. Now, I think this is where the average thing kicks in. If you can buy a property in the $300,000 or $400,000 a month range, you're probably going to get more. Well, first of all, those are almost like unicorns. So let's say a $500,000 property you're probably going to get more than $1,200 or $1,300 a month rent. But as you go up into like homes in Carlsbad, homes in Poway, this probably works out more. Like a $900,000 house might bring you $3,000 in rent. So I think that's a pretty fair ratio. Irvine, they're all up there. East Coast cities like Boston, Santa Ana, even Chula Vista is pretty high. Now, I shouldn't put down Chula Vista. There's some really nice spots down there. I didn't mean it that way, but like it used to be a bargain down there, I guess is what I was saying. Miami is catching up. Riverside, that's stunning to me. Austin, Texas, that's where we're starting. Now we're starting to look at places. Okay, so the theory is, we'll go into more in this other videos. The idea is to find a good number for a landlord. So I'd say like we're starting, we want to get under 20 if we can, and a place where it's safe, where you don't have to be an off-duty police officer to be able to get your rents and feel safe about it. A place where the path of progress, where demographic trends and in business trends, people like Grant Cardone was talking about investing in multifamily properties in the South, although he's having trouble finding them. So now he's going to places even like Baltimore, which seems to be the opposite of his normal, of what he was talking about. I'm a limited, I don't know that much about Grant, but the point is, everyone knows to invest in the South, in the Sunshine State, where people were heading. So I still think that's a great strategy. So if you can get a good price to rent ratio in a city you're interested in, you might want to call it the path of progress, or the path of the demographics, or just where appreciation is expected. This is starting to be a way to start to make cities that are interesting, or starting to find cities that are interesting. So, I'm going to share this anecdote. My brother just moved to Texas, and he's teaching golf there. He's got a cool job, and he said he couldn't believe what a good play, how much the rents were relative to the cost of the houses. So he's like, we've got to buy, right? So that's like the opposite here. You got to rent because the prices are so high. He was looking in Houston. Now he's outside of Dallas. I think he's in Irving. No, I was saying Irvine for us. But he's saying he thinks he's going to have to buy soon because the rents are high relative to the costs. So as a landlord, so that's also therefore probably a good place to consider being a landlord. Like here's Fort Worth, Texas, right? When Dallas was up here, that's where he is. And I believe the number where they start covering themselves is somewhere around in here if you're not going to have a lot of expenses. That I think some places on the net said it was about 14. Now here we're looking at San Antonio. So Texas is good. And then I think that's why a lot of people are moving there. A lot of investors have been going to Texas. I know plenty personally. Tucson, Arizona seems to be in that range where it could be good. Now I wanted to find, earlier on this list, I had seen Phoenix. Phoenix is at 19. Now, let me tell you that the top realtor in my office, my good friend, the guy I renovated properties and flipped with because he had the renovation skills. At the time I financed it, he financed it a little. No, he might have financed it equally. It was a few years ago. He would fix them up. Maybe I qualified for the loans. That's why it happened. But I put the money in. He put some money in. He put his time in. We flipped it. We renovated properties. We made a lot of money on our first few. We lost $1,400 on the last one. And then a year or two later, he went to Arizona to make money. So what he has been doing is, I don't know what it's called, real estate hacking. He moves into the home with his family, renovates it for a year or two, and then either takes equity out and buys another or sells the property and starts the process again. So for him, that's been a very successful method. He's made very good money doing it. He's been trying to find fix and flip properties for me, and they're just not matching up with that rule of thumb a lot of investors use, which is 70% of ARV. So that's the repaired value. You project where it will be. If I fix up the property and make it look really nice, what will it sell for? You pick that number, and you currently, want to buy it 70% of that number. But also, if you're going to put a lot of money into repairing, you have to subtract that number out from the repairs. So that means you have to buy these fixer-uppers pretty well. And there's a lot of people, what we're competing against is people who have to keep their crews running, regardless of how much profit they make, or local people like Phil, who can either move in or, when you have a realtor's license, which Phil does there too, as well as here. They can get skinnier margins, but when I'm having to manage this remotely, I'm needing to stick to that number because I know how it's even hard. It was even hard to do here when it's close. So I've been staying away, but I'm like, but so many of these properties, because sometimes they're in good shape, they just aren't. The path to making them sell for top dollar is carpet, paint, and kitchen appliances or and countertops. But these are still make great rental properties. They're still serviceable. Many of them, you of course would be looking to buy ones that aren't projected to have a lot of repair costs. Now, an added bonus here is because Phil's been buying and fixing up. He gets people sending him properties frequently. So we can share that. He can share that with you. So go ahead. It's not even up yet, but attorneyhomeservices.com. I'm an attorney and a real estate broker in San Diego. There'll be a button where we'll explain a little bit more about this, and you can. I'll put you in touch with Phil, or you'll set up a strategy session with Phil. Because for this strategy, this isn't like a no money down or 3% in. You're going to have 20-25% down. In fact, we should probably make sure that you're a qualified investor, just so we're not running afoul of any laws. But we don't have any specific properties for you right now. I have a few in mind, but I'm not bringing that up in this video because, one, I don't know when you're going to be seeing it, and two, I don't want to run afoul of any investment laws. So this is just the fact that I can tell you that there's this opportunity, just these fix and flip properties that are not meeting the ARV numbers that professional, well, I'm not even going to call myself an investor. An investor would wisely use, but would still be an absolute opportunity for someone to say, I want to get into these properties with rental properties that carry themselves, or maybe make a little profit, or maybe almost carry themselves. I mean, it really depends on how much you're paying in the end, and what you're projected, and what the actual repair costs are over time. But come close to managing themselves, are in a path of a market that looks like it's poised to really go up, and Phil can help you buy them right, so that maybe you're walking into a little bit of equity right away. That to me is a scenario. You're wanting to buy properties a little bit underpriced, and you don't even have to fix them up right away. You might do it in a year or two and then flip it out for a big profit. So that's what we're that's what Phil's offering you. I thought I'd just share it. So if you go to attorneyhomeservices.com, I'll put you in touch with Phil. We've got one other strategy that he's asked me not to share in the net, that's even better, even safer, and if you think about this, you're going to know what I'm talking about. But you could project your expenses and repair costs to be very, very minimal. And right now, there's not a lot of rentals on the market, great demand, and the numbers are looking really good. And there's areas of Arizona around the Phoenix area where, Phil is putting money down on his own purchase. He did talk me into it, but my wife said no. We've got kids going to college, and we couldn't tie up the money for 2 or 3 years. So that was, but it's an opportunity I seriously considered. Phil's doing it. Phil might be putting another friend into it, and it's not sketchy at all. It's just an opportunity, but we don't want to talk about it on the net. But go to the website, Attorney Home Services, click on the link where we're talking about this, and if you're a qualified investor, Phil will be happy to get on the phone with you and talk to you about it. He's a great guy. You'll enjoy the conversation. There's no risk, no pressure at all. And if not, consider Arizona yourself. California, consider these places with these price to rent ratios that seem like it could be fruitful just to start. I mean, that's part of the process is putting as much in your favor as you can when you're investing money. You want to look for upside, and you want to manage the downside. You want to it's all risk, but you want to take smart risk. In exchange, you want to have strong potential returns. Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye. John McConnin, attorney at homeservices.com, although it might not even be resolved right now. Thanks, bye.